Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Atrocious. You can also call me Jake, and today we are going to be starting our commentary, our unofficial commentary for the Aichi Championships, OP08. Very excited for this one. We saw in the previous championships the dominance of Red Purple Law as the first kind of major Japanese CS in OP08. I know there was the Grand Asian Open that also produced OP08 results, which was very, very exciting to see. And so we'll see in this one just a short time since the last one, if anybody has the counter to Red Purple Law. Now, taking a look at the top 16 decks, let's look at the meta share. Obviously, right at the top 11. We see Red Purple Law absolutely dominating this one, even better than Hiroshima just the other week. I'm almost positive that this top 16 has more Red Purple Laws than at Hiroshima, but looking at the other decks, you've got two Black Yellow Luffy's, two OP07 Rob Lucci's, and then one OP07 Boa Hancock. I'm hoping that in this tournament we see at least one of the two Rob Lucci's in this tournament, because I think we haven't even seen that deck on the channel. I don't think it's been part of the Japanese broadcast. But mentioning the Japanese broadcast, this championship video is not my official content. I'm watching this on the official channel. If you want to go watch it on the official channel without my yapping, feel free to click the link in the description below. I'll have that there for you in case you want it. But for those of you that want to stay, let's get into our first game. Okay, so the first game we're going to have in this series is Red Purple Law and Boa Hancock. Looks like Red Purple Law is going to be going first in this game. Now, we haven't seen this exact matchup entirely, but in the last championships we got to see Boa Hancock and a little bit of what is made of it. So very curious to see if this list is any different, if this list has a lot of similarities, maybe just yoinked the Hiroshima deck list. We don't know at the time of this recording. At least the deck lists are not showcased, they're not put online, at least for the non-Red Purple Laws. I don't know. I've seen so many Red Purple Law lists from this championship, I can't even remember if I've seen the top 16 ones, but I know I haven't seen a Boa Hancock. So players starting out with the 5, don't worry, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you kind of deck lists that I think are pretty good for it. We'll show you the Boa Hancock list from last week if I can't find it, and then also the Red Purple Law list that I believe is correct, just based on matching people on Twitter. So it looks like the Red Purple Law has decided to keep the hand, the Boa Hancock opting to mulligan. Now, hopefully they show us in a second. Here we go, the Red Purple Law's hand. So in this hand, you've got the Toy Soldier Red Law, that 4-cost law right there. Something that we didn't see last weekend at all in the top 2 Red Purple Law deck lists. So maybe good for the mirror match, I would think, potentially. But also, there's a Reiju there, Kid, Black Maria, and Queen. And the mulligan hand for the Boa Hancock brings a Kaya, Red Rock, Gravity Blade, 4-drop Gecko, hold on, Gecko Moria.
Gecko Moria.
Gecko Moria.
Gecko Moria.
Gecko Moria. Alright, you guys tell me if that's wrong. There's a Gecko Moria in their hand, and also the 10-drop Kaido. So very interesting. Gravity Blade, something that is going to be very impactful in the matchup, as Red Purple Law decks don't really play anything higher than 5 or 6 cost overall. So effectively, every single character in their deck is liable to be Gravity Bladed. So very interesting hand. I don't know if it's a great hand, honestly, for the Boa Hancock, but we'll see if something like their leader effect or even just the natural stage of the game gives them better cards. So after doing the Dawn and passing for the Red Purple Law, the Boa is going to go and immediately play the Kaya. So you don't usually see the Kaya being played in this deck, but after getting a Jozu and a, what is that, Boa Hancock there, really wanted to get some more cards. So pitching the Kaido in the Red Rock, I don't hate that, just a little bit too big of cards overall. Keeping the Gravity Blade, again, Gravity Blade being really good. Red Purple Law now, after drawing and getting their Dawn, going to be swinging 5 overall and a 2K counter right there off the Dracul Mihawk as this Black Maria gets to be played. So we'll see if they actually do. It looks like they are going to do the leader effect. That's really interesting in my opinion. But the reason they wanted to do that was to play the Reiju. They'd had 5 in hand and less Dawn than the Boa, so why not draw 2 cards? Now going in and using the Black Maria effect and then passing the turn, going to be at the same amount of Dawn as the Boa, so at 2, so they'll be at 4 next turn. This hand, they've got a Charlotte Pudding in there, another Queen and a Kid and Killer, as the Boa Hancock draws a, I think that's a blocker Boa Hancock, and then swings 5, gets a life, and then off of the Gecko Moria, goes and gets that 2K back. So off to 4 Dawn for the Red Purple Law, another toy Law right there, that being the promo version, and also an Otama in hand right now. So a couple different options, looking like a pretty healthy hand, I feel like, overall for the Red Purple Law player here at 4 Dawn. You would love to get rid of the Gecko Moira right here, so this Law is probably going to be played down with the 4 Dawn overall. So played right there, going minus 2,000 on that Gecko Moria, and then leader effect will bottom deck that Moria to play down another card. It looks like they're going to be playing a Charlotte Pudding. Charlotte Pudding, something that we didn't really see in combination with Black Maria in the last tournament, Hiroshima. Never really saw them on the field at the same time, so now we are going to. So swinging 5 at lead, and there's that Boa Hancock blocker that we mentioned. Another swing of 5 is going to get a life. It's going to be a 2K Kaya, and then passing the turn to match them in Dawn. And then as Dawn goes back to the Dawn deck, Red Purple Law is actually going to be ahead because of that Charlotte Pudding effect right there of bringing back a rested Dawn once you put Dawn back in your Dawn deck. So honestly insane. Now they're back above curve of Boa Hancock with doing leader effect twice. That's actually crazy. So now, after that top deck of, I believe, the Jinbei right there, the Jinbei could be good of getting multiple bodies down on the field at the same time. They can only bottom deck once per turn. So the 5 swing is going to get that Kid, and the Boa Hancock comes down, freezes one of the characters. I think it froze the Reiju. And by freeze, I mean just saying, you know what, you can't attack next turn, not necessarily frozen in the rested position. So going into now, I believe, 6 Dawn overall. 6 Dawn turn at this point. Only a couple different minusing effects that we've seen so far in the Laws and the Otamas. Not really enough to be able to bottom deck this Boa Hancock, so I think you need to kind of shift your focus a little bit to a little bit more defensive style, right? Playing something like the Queen, drawing cards. And it looks like they are going to attach 1 and swing 5 at lead, going to be getting that Jinbei. Only 4 cards in hand for this Boa Hancock. Just like that Perona game that we watched last week with the Red Purple Law. I don't know, this doesn't really feel close right now at this point. But Gravity Blade is active next turn, and we'll see if Gravity Blade goes after this 5K swing. Going to be getting that Jozu. Another swing right there. I guess they froze the Red Law, right? The toy Law in that, as that swing for 6 gets another 2K. Going to be playing that Queen, drawing 2, and then trashing 1. We'll see what they trash. Might be like the Kid and Killer. There's a Gordon, the first one that we've seen of the Gordon Raisemax combo, and then also another Otama. So I think you probably pitch the Kid and Killer at this point. You really only need 1, I feel like, but maybe thinking about pitching the Toy Law, maybe really deciding like, okay, maybe I need the two kid and killers, to be able to play one and then also play another one off of leader effect for like a double whammy combo. But honestly, with a 7 Dawn at this point, 7 Dawn in this turn, you don't even need to use leader effect, right? So you're going to be at like 9 Dawn next turn. So you could technically hard play two kid and killers. I think it'd probably be better to go queen, kid, killer, and then leader effect for kid, killer. But using the Black Maria, it looks like on there, and I think the Black Maria right there, bringing only 3 Dawn and then the end of turn, putting 3 Dawn back for leader effect. They're doing leader effect right now. I think you can play over this Black Maria. Black Maria is really good at the beginning of the game, not necessarily at the end of the game. So going to be swinging 5, I think, off of that because the opponent was not at 2 or less life. So right there, that kid and killer going in. Off of the leader effect, I believe you get a Dawn through the Charlotte Pudding, do you not? Unless, no, actually they did it earlier in the turn when they played the queen, so that is only a once per turn action, so that is correct right there. So going into the Boa Hancock's turn now, they got a Doflamingo blocker right there, going to be swinging 6, and it looks like a 2K counter of Otama is going to go swinging 8 now with that Boa Hancock. The Boa Hancock going to be very good in terms of getting rid of some of these threats like the kid and killer. And so Gravity Blade right here, going to be bottom decking the Reiju and the, what was that card? The Queen right there. And then through characters going back off of the field, the Boa Hancock finally got to use leader effect. Took until the 8 Dawn turn to be able to draw one off leader effect. So drawing a card that for blocker law, not going to be relevant in this one except to block. The Boa Hancock has always had a small hand overall as life is equal at 3. So laying out the Dawn, the Gordon and the Otama combo, although would only be 2 Dawn, would be able to get you to bottom deck this Boa if you really wanted to, but that's a lot of investment overall to get rid of that Boa. So we're going to see exactly where they want to go right here. It looks like they're going to be swinging with the pudding again, saying, you know what, if you're going to keep letting me swing with it, I'm just going to keep swinging with it. So getting that counter right there on that swing. They've got, again, another kid and killer in hand. Maybe it was actually good that they kept that card. Going to be a 5K poke right here and a 2K counter. So interesting to use 2K, really valuing the Gecko and the Doflamingo little guys, but attaching 1 and swinging 6 now. This is going to take a life. Kid and killer is active. It's a Sengoku, so this build a little different, I think, in some aspects overall. Going to be resting, I believe, 5 now for this queen, putting the queen Dawn back to draw 2 more cards. Excellent draw in this deck. And we'll see what they want to discard. It looks like they got a Raise Max and a Kid. I do like that play. I think you're at the stage of the game where you don't necessarily need a ton of the Raise Maxes. And so preemptively playing a Gordon. I don't know if I would have preemptively played a Gordon in this deck or against this deck because like if they slam down another Boa Hancock right now, that Gordon is going to get bottom decked. And with that Gravity Blade right there, actually, you could do a scenario where you Gravity Blade, right? You get rid of something like the Gordon and the Queen, the 2 active characters, and then you use the rest of the Dawn to swing at these other 2 characters to pretty much board wipe at this point. What is the player going to do? So swinging 7 right now. I don't know exactly where this 7 is at this point. It could be at the pudding if they're doing this play that I'm talking about right now. Maybe leaving that 1 Dawn for a Sengoku to be able to search. It does look for 7 Warlords of the Sea type characters, so that might help you find like another Boa, right? We saw in the previous tournament in Hiroshima with the Doflamingo utilizing the Boa, 6-cost Boas, to be able to freeze these big giant bodies and not be able to attack at all. So that Boa Hancock taking a knockout right there on that Kid Law. Going to be resting at least one for this Sengoku right here. Going to be looking at the top 5. And again, I think they're kind of looking for the Boa Hancock right now. There is some 2Ks in there, Mihawk and Crocodile. Another 4-drop was in there. Maybe not necessarily exactly what you were looking for, but it'll have to do at this point. So resting 7 for that Gravity Blade, bottom decking the Queen and the Gordon. You couldn't board wipe entirely, but I think you're probably pretty happy about getting rid of everything else besides the pudding. So now that Red Purple Law is at 10 done, 10 hold on for this deck while using leader effect almost every single turn. It's going to be interesting to see where they go from there. The Sachi Penguin, just purely a 2K at this point, not going to want to play that overall. Could play something like the Useless Captain Kid blocker and the Kid and Killer. You can get rid of those cards. You can start building a little bit more in this board state, but maybe actually looking a little tricky for the Red Purple Law at this point. Not a lot of draw left in this, so we'll see if the Boa can really capitalize. So swinging 7 first, this is going to be at lead. Thinking about pitching 2 cards in this, it's going to be that Gecko Moria and also the Crocodile right there for 8,000 power. And it looks like they are probably going to be playing at least the Kid. Now, they won't be able to play any other character unless off of leader effect, so maybe playing this Kid and then putting 3 on the pudding to be able to... Oh, wait, no, they actually can still play a 4 cost. Because of the Kid effect, I almost forgot. They will be able to play a 4th Dawn as active. So going to be putting it on the pudding. I would have almost thought they would have slammed down that Kid and Killer. But getting that life and that Jinbei after swinging 8,000 power off the pudding. I do think you probably want to save Kid as more of a finishing move now that I think about it a little more. So we'll see how the player here wants to do this. I almost am tempted to put the Doflamingo blocker on the field. You've got the Trafalgar Law. That's that little 1-cost Trafalgar Law that is a blocker way back from the starter deck. So that Jozu there, putting it back in hand, and then the Jozu says return one of your characters of a cost, or return one of your opponent's characters of a cost of 6 or less, putting back that Useless Captain Kid. So great job in there. Again, just doing a little bit of board work. So that 5K swing off the Boa Hancock right there is going to be getting a Sachi Penguin. That 8K swing taking out the pudding, and then a Doflamingo blocker stacking the top 5 overall. We'll see exactly what they want to pick. I think Boa Hancock probably wants to be at the top. There is a Boa Hancock in the hand, a Red Rock, although you probably would have loved to see Gravity Blade instead. And then there's some 2K bonus in that Trafalgar Law right there, and then a couple Doflamingo blockers. So thinking about putting the Red Rock on there right now. Interesting choice. I would have almost assumed the Boa Hancock you would have wanted to put on top, but putting the Boa Hancock on bottom, prioritizing the Red Rock for next turn. Interesting. I don't know if I would have guessed that overall, but in a sense it does make sense a little bit. So drawing the 6-cost Sanji, or should I say potentially the 3-cost if you use the leader effect and play down the Kid, could be really nice in a sense at some stages of the game. So small hand on both sides. This will be a board battle control. Going to be swinging 9, I'm sorry, I can't count, 9 at the Boa Hancock right here. So it's either block, and I think blocking is a pretty good idea. You don't know if they have any Gordons or Raise Max, so you don't want to get caught in something. And it looks like this might be tough after that 9K swing right there. Going to be a leader effect and play down that Kid and Killer, getting 2 Dawn attached to it, and with the 2K boost, it is going to be catching the Boa Hancock on that 9K swing. So tough. I was really rooting for the Boa Hancock there at the end. It looked pretty good, but that Kid and Killer, disregarding what I thought was originally a good idea in keeping that Kid and Killer off of the queen draw, actually proved to be instrumental in this red purple law's victory. So very, very good job by the player. And let's go ahead and look at some deck lists. Now, this is the Boa Hancock list from Hiroshima. The lists from this Aichi tournament are not public yet. So a couple changes that we can talk about in this one. We did see in the Boa Hancock that they're playing at least one of the little one-drop blocker Trafalgar laws. So I think that's something worth noting. We didn't necessarily see, I feel like, a ton of these cards. We saw a lot of repeat cards overall, I feel like. For example, we never saw like an Edward Weevil. We did see one Kaido, but not the draw a lot of cards Kaido kind. So it is reason to believe that maybe they're not even playing the draw Kaido, especially with Boa Hancock's not really playing the Edward Weevils either, maybe just opting for that little blocker law overall. Watching a couple games now with this deck, it is very interesting overall. Boa Hancock, this card right here, seems to be the most important card in these 7 Warlords of the Sea mono blue decks, just simply because of that freeze effect overall, or cannot attack effect, almost like a Beijing, I guess you could say right there. The Jozu that comes out in OP08, also a pretty good card for this deck. Again, I'll read it in case you didn't really catch it when the tournament was going on. On play, you may return one of your characters other than this card to your hand. Return up to 1 cost 6 or lower character to the original owner's hand. So again, a little bit of board control going on in this one. You've got several different popping effects, either back to hand or bottom of the deck, including the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger that we saw was so good in this deck. The Gum Gum Red Rock, which isn't super impactful in terms of the red-purple law matchup, but is a good card overall for a lot of other matchups in the game. You've got the Boa Hancock, which bottom decks a 1 cost or less character. You've got the 10-drop Kaido as well. We did see this 10-drop Kaido at the beginning of the game for the Boa Hancock player. Didn't actually get to see it played, but this also very, very good for getting rid of pesky cards on your opponent's field. An 8 cost and a 3 cost overall. A super good card that's kind of making a resurgence with these blue decks coming on, both Doflamingo and, honestly, the Boa Hancock playing these. Now, the deck list for the player that won that game isn't officially out yet, but I did find a list that plays the Trafalgar Law kind of toy promo Trafalgar Laws. I think the difference in this list, take out the Bond Clays, put in Otamas instead. We saw the other week in the Aichi Japan Championships how these red-purple law decks were playing 16 different 2Ks. So I think it's reason to believe that this Bond Clay, or maybe even the Zoro, we didn't see Zoro in that game. We did see it in the second place list, though, that the deck is probably running that in a replacement. It seems that through the last several games that we've watched of red-purple law now at this point, a lot of the staples are Black Maria, Charlotte Pudding. I would play 4 Reiju, probably. The 4 Eustace Captain Kid, 4 Raise Max Gordons right here, lots of Queens, 4 Sachi Penguins, lots of Kid and Killers, and at least 2 Sanjis. There's still time left in this tournament. Hopefully they'll showcase us maybe a Black Yellow Luffy or a Rob Lucci game, and hopefully they win one of the games. I'm not 100% sure yet. I still haven't been spoiled on things, but that's going to be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Hopefully you're enjoying the game right now, and I hope to see you soon.